Welcome new X-Wing players. My call sign is BatMando, and welcome to our channel. I have been playing since 2015 and familiar with all 7 factions in play. Welcome to our channel once again. Please subscribe to our future transmissions because this is a video and a channel dedicated to new players. And yes, some veteran players can get some information out of here. They can see different play styles and all this other stuff, different lists being flown at each other. But this particular video is for new players that are still learning the game phases and the slang. And that's what we're going to be covering in this video. There are 5 different game phases that we'll be talking about. And towards the end, we'll make certain that I cover all the slang that I use and probably slang that I use during the video as well. So in which case, let's go ahead and dive in because we're going to talk about the first 2 phases. It's 2 phases on the same slide. So it's a 2-for-1 sale. Yay. So now, in which case, let's go ahead and talk about planning phase here. Now, every single ship has to have a dial. And as you can see right here on the top side of the dial, it already shows that it's this faction, what ship it is, because you want to make certain that you have the appropriate dial for the appropriate ship. Now, there are some people that are like, oh, hey, guess what? You have this dial that's in a different faction, but you're like, for instance, the Rogue class starfighter. Right now, it's in 2 different factions. It's in the Separatist faction and it's in the Scum faction. What I will tell you is just make certain that both dials are exactly the same, and as memory serves, they are. So in which case, there you go. But make certain. So let's go ahead and talk about this real quick, and then I'll go into some other side notes. So in which case, X-Wing dial, right now, you see this little diamonds, arrow, triangle thing, whatever you want to call it. I've heard it all 3, the arrow, I've heard it called the triangle, and I've also heard it called the diamond because of these 2 little sidelines here. So make certain that your maneuver is directly under that symbol. So in this case, this T-65 X-Wing is about to take a 2-bank to the right, and hopefully he gets to complete his maneuver, and I'll tell you why that you hope for that, because that's coming up in phase 3. Now, so you select your maneuvers for all your ships and make certain that you are using the right ship, or I'm sorry, the right dial for the right ship. Because when you're doing stuff like with First Order has 2 different types of TIE fighters. They have the TIE FOs and the TIE SFs, and the dials are completely different. They look similar, but when you look at them like with more detail and everything else, you will see that they are not the same. So in which case, please make certain that you are using the correct dial for the correct ship. So the planning phase is going to end when all dials are down on the mat. And that means that they are face down. Make certain that they can only see this top side. The bottom side should be faced toward the mat so nobody can see it, so that you know that your plan is secret until it is finally revealed in phase 3. So now, once all the dials are down on the mat, y'all are going to roll off for road. And in which case, I'll talk about road when we get to the slang portion, but it determines who's going to be first player for that round. So then we get into system phase, and system phase is where you are performing either ship abilities or dropping bombs. So in which case, yes, there are plenty of bombs out there, and let me tell you, you normally drop them during the system phase. Now, one exception to this, even though it's still during the system phase, you got the TIE SE bomber here for the First Order, and as you can read there for yourself, it says during the system phase you may perform a boost action. And as we read it, this normally is like when you see it on the card like this in this instance, normally it's meaning a white action, which means it's not going to give you stress. If the First Order bomber decides to do a boost during activation phase, then it becomes red and it gives it a stress. But right now, there it is. So with the bombs, so with this particular bomber, you can boost and then drop the bomb, or you can drop the bomb and then boost. And so watch out for those bombs. Those bombs normally are range 0 to 1. And depending on the type of bomb determines the type of damage. So there you go. Now, other ships, as you can see, have different system phase things, such as the ETA 2 here for the those of you who play Republic and play the Jedi here. In which case, hey, guess what? during their system phase, they can use a force, which is why you see the whole purple thing. So it is a purple barrel roll or a purple boost, and they have to spend their purple force token in order to do it. And you also have a purple target lock as well. So pretty cool there. Now, in which case, boom, there you have it. So you have all sorts of different things that can happen during the system, such as for the rebels here that have a A-wing, you have to put this on as an upgrade, but you can have vector cannons, and that means that you can either A, perform a red boost, or you can perform a red turret rotate. So in which case you can rotate your turret either to the front or to the back at that point in time. And you can only do that during the system phase. Now, you may be asking, what the heck is this over here? You said dropping bombs. This is a missile. This is both a missile and a bomb. So it shoots off, you put a template down for a 3 bank or a 4 straight, and then it leaves in that space that it ends there with a massive obstacle. So it's pretty big. I want to say it's about the same size, as in the same width as the cluster mines when you lay those things out there. It's a pretty fat thing, so it's pretty wide. There you go. So now, in which case, that's everything that happens with the abilities. Another thing that we can talk about is also sensitive controls, but as you can see, we kind of ran out of room here for more cards to be shown. So in which case, look up sensitive controls on one of the resource websites that I'm going to give you at the end of this video. So now, the last thing that you also have to do during system phase is if you are cloaked and you want to become decloaked, then you have to do that during the system phase. And there are different rules for that as well. So again, I will show you a website that will tell you how that works and everything else. And boom, there you go. All right, so now let's move on to phase 3, which is the activation phase. So starting with the lowest initiative ship. So let's bounce back for a second so I can show you this real quick. Okay, so each pilot has an initiative, and this one is a 4, this one is a 3. So when you are actually moving, you would start with the 3, and then you would move on to the 4. Now, if both of you happen to have a tie, that comes down to who won road, who is first player. So in which case, you reveal your dial, the 3 moves before the 4. Hopefully they execute their maneuver completely, because if they do, they can perform an action. That's only if your maneuver is completed and if your ship is not stressed. So in which case, that is one of the things that you got to look out for. So you execute the maneuver. Let's say that you partially execute the maneuver and you bump into an opponent's ship. You can still perform a red focus, but that's the only thing you get to perform at that point in time. So because you did not complete your maneuver. Now, if you're already stressed and you were doing a maneuver that did not clear your stress, well, guess what? You don't get to do any action whatsoever. So that is activation phase in a nutshell. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the next phase, which is probably the phase that most of us enjoy the most, and that is engagement phase. So now it's the opposite. We are now starting with the highest initiative ship from road. If you are a first player, but the second player has a 6 and your top ship is a 5, highest initiative ship is a 5, then the 6 gets to go first. That's just by highest initiative. So now once you've gotten your ship, you need to measure range. Some people say that you have to declare a target first. That is wrong. You can look at all your options, you can measure range, and then you can choose the weapon, and you can go ahead and say, hey, guess what? Now that I've checked my options, I'm going to go ahead and declare a target. It's going to be this one. And then you perform the attack. Some people say defender. I say both. So in which case, declare your target or declare your defender, and there you go. So in which case, let's go ahead and have you take a look at this picture right here. And I want you to pretend that you are from the perspective of Fen Rao, which is this pilot right down here. And you can see that he has target options. He's got a target option range 1 of Dutch here in the Y-Wing Rebel. And he also has the target option of shooting at Wedge at a range 3 shot. You can also see that Wedge has a range 3 arc shot obstructed on Fen Rao here as well. So in which case, these are your options. Now, you might want to read up on Finn if you have no idea who he is, because while you are at range 1, he is he is merciless. So he basically, like, at this point in time, he has a range 1 shot, which allows him to roll 5 attack dice. You're looking here saying his primary is 3. Range 1 gives you 1 extra attack die, which is true. But when you read his ability, you can see that he may roll 1 additional die. And that's also for defending and attacking. So in which case, he's getting 5 attack dice. Plus, he has Fearless. This is an upgrade you would have to put on him, but he does have Fearless in this particular build. If you're asking about this picture, like what the heck is going on, we're going to have a different video dedicated to that called X-Wing attack options, and this will have a lot more explanation. So please subscribe to our channel. Check out our other video that is called X-Wing attack options. Now, when you take a look at all this, and by the way, while you perform a primary attack, if you are in range 1, which he is, and you are also in the defender's primary arc, then guess what? You may change any one of your results to a hit. So in which case, this is what kind of happens here. So 5 attack dice on 1 defense die, because that's all the Y-Wing has. It only has 1 agility, plus Fearless. Or your other option is to take that range 3 attack at Wedge. You only have 3 attack dice. He's going to get 3 defense dice because it's a range 3 attack, and he's usually rolling 2. Now, another thing I like to consider when doing engagement is, can other friendly, as in scum ship, hit the same target? And as you can see by the different range rulers that we have here, yes, you can. So in which case, I'm sorry, even if even if Dutch is at full health, by the time this whole entire thing is said and done, it's probably not going to be the case. So in which case, let's go ahead and say that both are successful, as in 5 attack dice, 1 defense dice. Let's go ahead and say that I get 5 hits, 1 evade. What do you know? He's already down half his health because he has 2 shields, 6 hull, hence that's already half his health. And then you have old T over here that can also roll 4 attack dice against his 1 defense. And then over here you have Lima Kai, who is equipped with plasma torpedoes, and that rolls 3. So in which case, plus you already have the target lock that you can re-roll. I'm thinking Dutch is not going to survive, and that's all because of how this is planned out and everything else. Now, so that's engagement phase. You can measure range, and again, we're back to the same picture. You can see all the different ranges that we have. So one of the things that I wanted to point out here, you don't see it all that well in the video, or I'm sorry, in the picture. You have a side arc here, so he can shoot out the front and he can shoot out the side because he's got a dorsal turret, and that dorsal turret is currently pointed at old T. Unfortunately, you only have 1 shot, unless you have some upgrade that says otherwise. You only have 1 shot. So in which case, one thing that I also wanted to show off here was that Dutch here has a another weapon called cluster missiles, and it can go range 1 to 2. And if you spend another charge, you can, or so after this attack, you can perform a bonus attack and shoot off another cluster missile. So, but that's only if you have a different target at range 0 to 1 of the first defender. So in which case, yeah, I could go ahead and shoot at Fen Rao here, or I could shoot at Li Men Kai. But the thing is that he is, you have to look at who's got what agility, what defense, and everything else. Yes, I'm going to be able to shoot range, or I'm going to be able to shoot 3 attack die into Fen Rao, but Fen Rao is going to be rolling 4 defense die. So in which case, and the Concordia face-off makes it so that 1 result is going to be changed to a evade automatic. So in which case the odds are against Dutch in making that hit take place. Not to mention they're not even range 1 of each other. So he could do a normal range 1 attack here, or he could do the cluster missiles attack here on Lima Kai. So now, let's see here. So range 2 is normally meant for missiles, torpedoes, turrets. Currently, there are only 2 types of turrets in the game currently with this video. And that means that you have either the choice of ion cannon or you have the choice of a dorsal turret. So I'm sorry, ion cannon turret, my mistake. So now range 3 normally means that you get an extra defense. So like, for instance, you see that Wedge here has proton torpedoes and he's got Lima Kai here, range 3. Now, you would like to think this Y-Wing, who's normally 1 agility, as in 1 defense die, will get a 2nd defense die because it's range 3, right? Not unless it's ordnance, and it has this little symbol here showing the missile, and that means this missile can be shot anywhere from range 2 to range 3, and even though it's range 3, Lima's not going to get that 2nd defense die because that's the rule with ordnance. So there you have it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to our next thing. So that was measuring range. Then you go ahead and start rolling dice and you hope for the best. So we'll talk about this here in a little bit. Like on this particular shot, you can see that these dice that were rolling hot on both sides, and then this one goes cold, and obviously you can see that on this particular roll they were rolling hot. So again, that's just kind of slang that we have, and I'll explain it a little bit more towards the end of this video. All right, now we're already at the end phase, and this is phase 5. So in which case, players start removing the following things. So you'll see that we have a green token right here, another one over here, another one over here, and all 3 of these tokens here, the focus tokens, they all have to go away. If there were any evades or any calculates out there or a reinforce, all that has to leave. If anybody was jammed or had a tractor beam, a disarm token on them, hey, guess what? They would have to be taken up at the end of this round during this phase. So, but the following things do stay on the mat. So this this stress token, it's going to stay there until Fenn does a 2 blue, or I'm sorry, just any blue maneuver. Typically, he's got a lot of 2 blues. That's why I said that. So in which case, that's what happens to get rid of the stress, and that also gets rid of strain, that gets rid of depletes. If you get an ion token, that means you can only move 1. So as in 1 forward, 1 bank, either direction, left or right. And that's how you get rid of the ion token. The other things that stay on the mat are the target locks. So these target locks right here. Now, if you look at the official rule book, they're going to say the target locks are red. A majority of us have different target locks. I mean, you can see I have my individual target locks thanks to a special friend of mine. So thank you. Definitely Not Wolf is his call sign, I believe. So in which case, thanks to you for those wonderful things and the wonderful range rulers. Very much appreciated. Now, you can get some personalized target locks. Just make certain that you have a way to identify who goes to what and everything else. Because even though you can't see it, there's these little pieces that go around the base there where you put in your peg, and they have letters that correspond to the little squares that I put out there as well. So there you have it. So target locks stay, red tokens stay, and there you have it. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, and that is slang. So X-Slang, haha. Now, the thing that we've been talking about, road, now we finally get to tell you that it's an acronym that stands for roll off after dials. And this is to find out who is going to be first player for that round. So now up here, you may remember our example where we were talking about rolling hot. Well, this is rolling hot. So in which case, both sets of die here, attack and defense, they were rolling hot. You can see that this person had 2 crits and a hit. It didn't matter because the person defending was rolling 3 defense dice and they got natties, which I just occurred is another slang that I haven't put in there. So bonus, natties are you just roll these particular or you roll those particular dice to a desired result. In other words, all evades natties. So if you got like hits and crits, hey, guess what? Natties. So now We got rolling cold, which means that your dice are rolling blanks. This is an example of rolling cold. This is an example of rolling cold. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And then you also have where your dice just finally went cold, froze up, and your luck with the dice has stopped. So in which case you may have been rolling hot. Like this person could have been rolling hot, and then this was their next roll, and their dice went cold. So you have several names for dice that have no results, as in blanks, as in whiff, as in no paint. So all these right here, this is all paint. Now, the only paint that's missing at this point in time is the focus symbol. So in which case, here you go, all your dice. You can see the focus symbol on this side and on that side as well. So if you roll all your dice and they have some kind of painted results and no blanks on there, that is called paint. You may also have some people who are just, before they start rolling, they go ahead and say, all I need is paint. Well, that's what they're talking about. They are only needing their dice not to roll a blank. They need them to roll some kind of symbol at that point in time. Okay, so range 0 attacks are unmodded. Oh, wait, I clicked by accident. Sorry, guys. So now, unmodded, range 0. You cannot modify your dice due to no focus or lock. With range 0, you're just not allowed to modify, period. So, and yeah, so there you have it. So in which case you cannot modify your roll due to no focus or lock. Now, we have the final one, which is called a one shot, and it's great when you do this. It's awful when you have it done to you. So this example right here, this could be done from thin route onto an A-wing. And so the attacker basically in one roll eliminates a ship. So an A-wing, for those of you who are brand new, it only has 2 shields and 2 hull. So let's say that it's full health right now. Fenn Rau comes in, shoots it at range 1. And as you can see right here, the dice are on fire. They are rolling hot. And then the A-wing ends up frozen, and in which case, this whole entire A-wing that only had 2 shields and 2 hull, well, these 2 are going to take away the shields. This one's going to give it a normal damage, and then it's going to have 2 crit damage afterwards, which on a 4-hit ship, just receiving 5 hits, it's now dead. And yes, you have to deal out all 5 cards. So, especially in tournament. So even if you're flying this casually with your friends, just go ahead and get used to putting out all 5 cards. So let's see here. Now for some more X-Slang. We have coming in hot, which means flying fast. Usually it's something that's said after a ship has completed a 4 or 5 straight, because they were on one side of the board and now they're on the opposite. So in which case there's that. You also have a bump. It's okay. A lot of people say bump, and it's not really a term that you find into, or that you find in the rule book. It's just something that we all say. It's when you run into another ship. So, you know, if you run into another ship, if it's a enemy ship, you can get the red focus. If it's one of your own, then you're rolling to see if you get damage for it. So, and this is going to lead us to our next thing called swarms. So swarm is normally a group of ships that fly in formation, and they are normally the same type of ships. As you can see right here, yes, they have different paint schemes, but these are all vulture droids. And another common ship that you see flying in formation in swarms are going to be TIE fighters, specifically the Empire ones, but you can also do the same thing with the FOs. So now, so there you have it. They fly in formation. They usually do the same maneuver. So like if this one's doing a 2 bank, so are the rest. And there are different videos dedicated to this. I even found something on Pinterest showing how you can do swarm maneuvers and everything else. Now, if you do check this out on Pinterest, I'm going to tell you that some of them are still like showing 1.0 cardboard. So you're going to look at this and look at the other cardboard saying, this isn't the same thing. And you're right. So in which case, the maneuvers will still be the same. The theory is still the same, but you're just going to notice that the cardboard is not. So Anyhow, let's go ahead and talk about House Swarm. Now, a House Swarm is a group of Imperial TIE fighters that are built around this pilot, Hell Runner. And you can see why after reading her ability, because if any friendly ship range 0 to 1 of her, so she, like if Hell Runner was in this group, she would probably be right here in the middle. That way, any one of these guys who are range 0 to 1 of her can re-roll an attack die if they're rolling their primary attack. So Hell Runner is a beast, not to be confused with Night Beast. So Hell Runner is a beast. And normally, if you're up against a House Swarm, I'm going to tell you, me personally, I'm trying to kill Hell Runner first so I can shut her ability down. Nobody wants to deal with Hell Runner the whole entire game, because normally a House Swarm has 6 TIE fighters on it. So, and that's annoying when they are all rolling one, or when they're all rolling die, and they keep on getting a chance to re-roll one attack die, and maybe it hits or maybe it turns into a focus, and then they spend their focus, and then it's just annoying. So moving right along. Okay, so more X-Wing. There are coming out with all of our new what's the word I'm looking for, with the big packs, the introductory packs to say like the Rebels and to the Empire. They are coming out with a lot of pre-builds. And these are just basically cards that have already been assigned upgrades to the ship and to the pilots. And they are normally not feasible in the squad builder itself. Like you can do some of these things in the and another difference I want to point out here real quick is that this wedge is at a skill level or initiative 5. When you are looking at him in squad builder or Launch Bay Next, whatever squadron builder that you're using, I use Launch Bay Next, but anyway. So when you're looking at Launch Bay Next, you have options of Battle of Yavin Wedge, or you have regular Wedge, which is a pilot skill 6 or initiative 6, and you get to build out whatever talents you want to put in there if you want to add a torpedo and if you want to add a droid. Now, proton torpedoes are 12 points, and I don't remember how or what the maximum loadout is on Wedge currently, but I want to tell you that if he only has like 14 points and you're putting in proton torpedoes for 12, there's no way you're going to get a droid and also a talent at the same cost. So in which case, this is what is pretty cool about the pre-builds, because they're much more economic, but at the same time, they're not stuff that you can just fly, or they're not something that you just can build into the squadron builder. They're already pre-built for you. So last thing, or I'm sorry, second to last thing, we got pop. So in which case, pop or spend a charge that usually is an ability trigger. Now, some people will say, I'm going to pop my chart, or I'm popping proton torpedoes, which means that, hey, guess what? There's only 2 charges on here. When they pop that charge, spend that charge, that means that they can go ahead and shoot that weapon, provided that they have the prerequisite of a target lock, and they can go ahead and shoot that thing off, and there you go. Another ability that is in this pre-build is R2A3, and after you reveal your dial, you can pop a charge and get a shield back, but you're also taking a disarm, which means you can't shoot that round. So, and I'm not just talking about like one time that round, I'm talking about the whole entire round. You're not shooting. So there's that. Now, let's see here. Let's go back to another charge that can be popped, quick draw from first order. There are other pilots that do this, but this is the one that most people despise, because if you take a shield off of quick draw, they can pop a charge, and that means that they are going to get another bonus primary attack. So it's what we also refer to as double tap. Hey, guess what? Another X-Wing slang term that I forgot to write in there. So you got double tap, which means that you can shoot the same ship twice, from the same ship, that is. Now, the last one that we thought of was Wilo. Kylo can be found in 2 different ships. So he pilots the Silencer, and he also pilots the Whisper. So some people apparently are calling Kylo and the TIE Whisperer, Wilo. So if you hear anybody talking about Wilo, then that means that Kylo piloting the TIE Whisperer. Okay, so, and I think that's all the X-Slang that I had for you. So these are the 3 resources that I had told you about sometime during this video. And in which case, you got the AMG X-Wing documents, you got the forum, you got the fandom. All of these links are absolutely necessary. Go ahead and bookmark them, because in a second you're going to see that I have them bookmarked, just so that it's quick reference and everything else. If you need rules reference, you go to the documents. If after the documents you read it and you're just confused about whatever the case may be, go to the forum, and they have people who work for AMG that do answer the questions. Sometimes they don't answer them in the most timely manner, but sometimes they're getting better at it. And then you have the wiki for X-Wing, and there you have it. You also have links to the squadron builders I was talking about, list builders. I use Launch Bay Next. You can use yet another squadron builder. Yet another squadron builder is internet based. So Launch Bay Next is an app that you can have on your phone. I know it works for iPhone, and I've been told that you can do it in Android as well. So okay, now thanks. So in which case, if you have any questions or you want me to cover any more topics, then email me at that email, and we'll see how quickly I get to it, and we'll go from there. So again, oh, by the way, if you're in DFW, you can come see me on Sunday at Order 66 in Plano. You could also go to any of these other locations on any of those days, because we got a lot of good people flying around the DFW area. Check out Geek Out. They have a tournament every other month, and they're great people out there. I try to make a chance, or I try to take the chance and get over there as often as I can on their tournaments. But trying to get out there on Monday is a beating from where I live. So I've only met people from Keller at Geek Out, so they're good people that I've met. Common Ground, same thing. I don't get to go down to Common Ground very often, but there are some great players down there. So in which case, check them out. And then Order 66 likes to do Thursday evenings and Sundays during the day. And you got Reaper up in Denton. And that is all the places I'm aware of in the DFW area. If you are not in the DFW area, just go ahead and check out and see if anybody is playing X-Wing at any of your local game stores. So, and if they're not, try to start your own group then. All right, now credits. Thanks to Slides Carnival, Unsplash, and the Wiki fandom page that I'm stealing all their images for and putting in here. So thank you for all that. And in which case, thank you, or hold on a second. Oh, there it is. So thank you. Please, please, please subscribe to our channel. We will be putting out content as often as we can. And as you can see, as I told you here, we got the X-Wing fandom page, we got the documents. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and start clicking these open so that you can see these if you are new to the game. So in which case, we got the wiki fandom. Make certain that, like, if there was anything in here that I mentioned and you were just like, what is that? So just come on over here, click in here. One of the things I talked about was, like, say, oh, let's talk about bombs. There, let's go ahead and do that. Now the FBI wants to see me. Okay, so bomb generator is the first one that comes up, and it will tell you what it does, the bomb itself, the detonation, what you roll for it, and everything else. And as you can see, there are more bombs. So in which case, you go on over here to device upgrades, and it will show you all the different bombs that are available. And it even throws in a probe droid for you. So there's that. And then if you're asking what are the rules, hey, guess what? There's a rules reference right there. We talk about scenarios every once in a while. Come on down here, and guess what? There are the scenarios page. So let's see here. Well, my internet's being silly right now, so in which case there's that. And then of course you have the forums. So drop in, search up a topic, see if it's already been answered, and then if not, just go ahead and drop a question in. What's worse that's going to happen? Somebody says no. Okay, let's see here. So yeah, just trust me. Oh, there they are. So finally, we got the rules. You can just go ahead and scroll on through, see everything that you're looking for. And then, of course, scenarios are taking their sweet time here, in which case there are 4 scenarios and you can read up on them. You got assault on the satellite ray, you got chance engagements, then salvage mission, and of course our scramble the transmissions. So there's a rumor that they are coming out with more mission or more scenarios, but I'm not holding my breath until I actually see it. So there you go. All right. Once again, thank you so much for dropping in. Welcome to our channel. Please make certain to subscribe, and thank you. So that is all I got to say. BatMando